कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारि यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा मुरलीधर राधे जय गौरचंद्र 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 जय गौरचंद्र जय जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna, dear devotees, a very good morning to you all. We are reading from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 57, entitled as Satrajit Murdered, the Jewel Returned. And we'll be covering three texts today, three verses, 28 to 30. So, text 28. Tatah sa karayam asa kriya bandhor hatasya vai sakam suhridbhir bhagavan ya yaha syuhu samparayikihi. Translation: Lord Krishna then had the various funeral rites performed for his deceased relative Satrajit. The Lord attended the funeral along with well-wishers of the family. Text 29. Akrurah kritavarma cha shrutva shatadhanorvadham vyushatur bhaya vitrastau dwarakayah prayojakau. When Akrura and Kritavarma, who had originally incited Shatadhanva to commit his crime, heard that he had been killed, they fled Dwarka in terror and took up residence elsewhere. Text 30. Akrure proshiterishthanya asan vai dwarakau kasam sharira manasa stapa muhurdaivika bhautikaha. In Akrura's absence, ill omens arose in Dwarka, and the citizens began to suffer continually from physical and mental distresses, as well as from disturbances caused by higher powers and by creatures of the earth. The word Daivika here refers to disturbances caused by supernatural beings. These disturbances often manifest as natural calamities like earthquakes, we had one recently, tidal waves, or extreme weather. Nowadays, materialistic people attribute these disturbances to earthly causes, not realizing that they constitute punishment at the hands of superior beings. The word bhautikaha refers to trouble caused by fellow creatures of the earth, such as human beings, animals, and insects. According to Srila Sridhara Swami, Akrura took up the Samantaka jewel and went to the city to reside in the city of Banaras, where he became known as Danapati, or the master of charity. There he executed fire sacrifices on gold altars with elaborate assemblies of qualified priests. Some residents of Dwarka felt that the unusual calamities were due to Akrura's absence, forgetting, as described in the next verse, that the Supreme Lord's personal presence in Dwarka precluded that possibility. Because when the Lord comes to earth, his pastimes resemble those of human beings, the principle of familiarity breeds contempt comes into play. It appears that during the lives of many saintly persons and incarnations of God, there always exists a class of people who fail to appreciate or who only occasionally appreciate the true position of great souls among them. On the other hand, the fortunate and enlightened souls who recognize the true position of the Lord and his associates are supremely blessed. I'll just read this last line once more. On the other hand, the fortunate and enlightened souls who recognize the true position of the Lord and his devotees are supremely blessed. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for joining today, and very grateful to be in your association. Whenever I think of this particular Sangha of Bhagavatam class of Bhakti Center, I feel very, gladdened, and I want to, make it an effort to attend more regularly. But yeah. So yeah, I beg for blessings from all of you, all the senior Vaishnavas present here, Adi Purush Prabhu, and all of you, so that I can discuss something in line with the Guru Parampara for my own purification and with humility and for the pleasure of all those who are present here. So Samantaka jewel, yeah, very interesting pastime. Lot of mess, has been created due to human greed for this Samantaka jewel. And, we see that people have gotten killed. Satrajit got killed. Prasen got, Prasen, who is Satrajit's brother, got killed. We'll see that Shatadhanva will get killed now, of course, by Krishna himself. Even Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there were allegations against him. And, although when he asked for the jewel from Satrajit, his intention was all good. His intention was that such a valuable thing should not be kept with somebody, who doesn't have the power to protect that thing. So Krishna asked for the jewel to give it to Ugrasen, but Satrajit did not do that. So, and then when Prasen got killed, Satrajit spread this nasty rumor that Krishna had him killed because Krishna wanted the jewel, and because Satrajit didn't give it to him, and that's why Krishna killed his brother in retaliation. So, even Krishna got a bad name, and he had to kind of work to clear his name, clear those allegations. We often equate our self-worth to our net worth, right? But we see in this world those people that are extremely wealthy by worldly standards. Most of these people, unless they are really, spiritually, they have a very strong spiritual foundation, they go in either of the two extremes. So with whatever wealth they've accumulated, they either get consumed by it so much that they become arrogant, selfish, greedy, falsely proud. That is one extreme of it. Even I, for example, many of us, when we get something, there is tendency for these anarthas to come up. That is one extreme. The other extreme is, with so much wealth also, people get depressed, anxious, suicidal, and that whole plethora of things. So these two extremes are there in the people who are extremely wealthy. So just by looking at these extremely wealthy people in this world, we can come to the conclusion that material assets, material gains are not the all in all, and that there is some higher truth that we need to aspire for. And that higher truth is what will satisfy our yearning for true and everlasting happiness. So in Krishna book, George Harrison, in his endorsement for the Krishna book, he writes, everybody is looking for Krishna. Some don't realize that they are, but they are. So Krishna being the reservoir of all happiness, all pleasure, ultimately we are looking for Krishna. Just that we might not realize that we are looking for Krishna, and we might look for him in the wrong places. Right? But whatever happiness we do experience in this world, it is but a spark of Krishna's splendor. Krishna says, Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam shrimad urjitam evava. Tattad evava gachatvam mama teja amsha sambhavam. Right? So whatever happiness, whatever great things, wonderful things that we see in the world, they're just an amsha or a spark of Krishna's splendor. Right? So, in the pursuit of getting this jewel, there is, in the same pastime, we can see contrasting personalities. Right? There are two people that got killed for the jewel. Right? Of course, three people, because Shatadhanva also gets killed later on in this pastime. On the other hand, we see two people who are completely indifferent to it. Right? So two people who were killed were, of course, Prasen and Satrajit. We know the story that Satrajit got this jewel originally from the sun god. And this jewel was actually very extraordinary. Among the many things that it could do, one of the very extraordinary things that it could do was to generate 170 pounds of gold every day. 170 pounds of pure gold every day. So Satrajit had it. He was very proud. So Prasen, who was Satrajit's brother, he thought, okay, let me wear this jewel and let me flaunt this wealth, the possession of this jewel. So he wore the jewel, mounted his horse, and went around town. And he happened to go into the forest as well, where a lion catches him and kills him and his horse, and takes the jewel and goes into a cave. Right? So Prasen has gotten killed. And Satrajit also, he did give his daughter Satyabhama in marriage to Krishna, because later on he realizes that what a great mistake he has made by putting these allegations against Krishna. And so he gives his daughter in marriage to Krishna, Satyabhama. He also is ready to give the jewel, but he's still attached to the jewel. And then Krishna sees that he's attached to the jewel, so Krishna says, okay, you just keep it with you. And then we see now that even Satrajit has been killed. Right? There is a whole complicated conspiracy that is going on. And so we see these two people who are killed. But on the other hand, there are devotees like Jambavan. Right? So when this lion killed Prasen and took the jewel into the cave, that happened to be the home of Jambavan. Jambavan is a great devotee of the Lord. He was there during the time of Lord Ram as well. And we know how Jambavan comes. He sees that this lion has a jewel, and with one slap, he kills the lion and takes the jewel. And it's interesting what he does with it. He doesn't take and worship it, or he doesn't take and make use of the wealth. He just gives it to his child to play, just like a toy thing. It's insignificant for him. So this is, a pure devotee of the Lord. He gets this jewel, but he just gives it as a toy thing. Then we have Satyabhama. Now that Satrajit is killed, the possession of the jewel has to go to his descendants, right? And Satyabhama is the only adult descendant here, and the wives of Satrajit are also they also gave up their lives. So Satyabhama could have the jewel, but she doesn't care for it. So then we'll see in the subsequent verses that Krishna, he tells Akrura has the jewel right now in the pastime. So he tells Akrura to keep the jewel with him, and then when Satrajit's son, who is a little kid now, he grows up, Akrura can give it to Satrajit's son. So like this, we see contrasting personalities even within one pastime. There are two people who got killed in the pursuit of trying to enjoy it, and there are two people, although they had very easy access to the Semantaka jewel, they did not care for it. Right? There is a nice story in I think this comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I believe, or some other text related to the Goswamis. So one, there is a poor Brahmana in Vrindavan, and he's praying to Lord Shiva. He is very poverty stricken, and he's praying to Lord Shiva that please bless me with some wealth. And Lord Shiva says, okay, you can go to Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami has the most valuable thing, Lord Shiva says. So the Brahmana is happy. He goes to Sanatan Goswami. And as he enters the Bhajan Kutir, he sees that there is a touchstone, a very valuable, touchstone in the trash can of Sanatan Goswami. And seeing this, the Brahmana gets bewildered. My God, this touchstone, it is such a valuable thing. And it is lying in the garbage. Looks like Sanatan Goswami doesn't have any use for it. So let me ask if I can take it. And then Sanatan Goswami says, he asks Goswami Maharaj, Sanatan Goswami, that okay, whether I can take this touchstone. Then Sanatan Goswami says, yes, by all means, take it. Now, this touchstone also was not ordinary. So, this touchstone was such a thing that if you take any metal and you touch this touchstone to that metal would turn into gold. So, this was the power of that touchstone that Sanatan Goswami had in his trash can, right, in his garbage bin, in his bhajan kutir. So then this Brahmana walks away with the touchstone, very happy that now he has gotten a way to alleviate his poverty. And then he realizes after some time that if Sanatan Goswami put this touchstone in his garbage bin, maybe he has something even more valuable because of which he put the touchstone in the garbage bin. So then he goes back to Sanatan Goswami and then he says, Dear Goswami Maharaj, I thought that since you put this touchstone in the garbage bin, you might have something even more valuable. So can you give me that most valuable thing that you possess? Then Sanatan Goswami says, sure, I can do that. But first, can you please go to the Yamuna river and throw this touchstone in the river and come back? Then the Brahmana readily agrees. He goes and throws the touchstone. And after he comes back, Sanatan Goswami initiates him into the holy name. He says that the holy name is actually the most valuable thing in the world today. So in this way, the Brahmana gets the most valuable thing, which is not the touchstone, but the holy names of the Lord. Of course, to realize that the holy name is the greatest treasure, the greatest, the most valuable thing we can hold on to is a very big fortune, and it's still theory for me. But I'm sure that by properly associating with Vaishnavas like you all, serving the Vaishnavas, I will one day realize that. So the other theme that comes in this pastime, in this particular purport, is about familiarity, breeding contempt. So we see that initially when we come into bhakti, we are all very enthusiastic. We see each Vaishnava as a great soul, and we try to learn from them, and we are very our heart is very soft. But over the years, as we keep practicing bhakti, we develop a tendency to take things for granted. This was especially true with me, and even sometimes now I take things for granted within bhakti. And especially when we get something very easily and in abundance, we tend to lose our gratitude for those things. So I didn't have to struggle to get bhakti, right? As soon as I decided to, okay, I wanted to go a little deeper into spirituality, everything was there for me. All facilities were there for me to practice bhakti. But if you compare that with certain great souls, like for example, Radhanath Maharaj, he hitchhiked all the way in search of God, all the way to India. So it's not that I had to do that kind of a thing, that kind of a struggle I had to go through to get Krishna consciousness. It was given on a platter to me, right? So Maharaj says that familiarity leads to lack of gratitude, right? So getting something really easily and getting something in abundance, we become familiar to it. So there are many ways in which this familiarity can creep into our Krishna consciousness, but we will try to discuss two of them today, right? So it's 37. Okay. So the first way is familiarity with devotees. So as I mentioned earlier, that we initially we see devotees as very great souls. Every devotee that we come across in our initial years of bhakti, we see them as, great souls. But then as we pass years, then we, sometimes the mind tricks us into finding faults with devotees, and, thinking of devotees as some ordinary people and things like that. So many years ago, I was studying my undergrad, and that time I used to live with a few devotees. So we had a building and we used to live there. So some were senior to me, some were junior to me, some were equals, and we all studied during the daytime, and then the morning time was morning program, chanting, etc., etc. So we used to live like that. So I used to live with all these student devotees that time. And my mentor is a grihastha, so he didn't live with us, but I used to meet him regularly in at school. So one day I asked him a philosophical question, to which he gave a very nice answer, a very mind blowing answer, some perspective that I had never come across before, and I was very much impressed by that. And then I said, Prabhu, thank you so much. I'm very sure that none of the devotees that live with me have this kind of a perspective about this topic. And then he said, his reply was interesting. He said, Prabhu, or is it the case that you think that they don't have this perspective? Then that really humbled me. He told me that, Prabhu, bhakti is very simple, but don't mistake it to be an easy thing or something insignificant or something, simplistic, right? So I learned that time that simplicity of devotees should not be taken to mean lack of wisdom, right? Devotees might not dress in the most fashionable ways. Devotees might not speak in the most eloquent ways. They might not conform to the worldly conventions of who a wise person is. But because of their surrender to Krishna, they're actually the most intelligent. Because one of the important characteristics of intelligence is to be able to discriminate between what is right and what is wrong. And because devotees have taken to the path of Krishna consciousness, they have chosen the best thing that there is in this world. And that is the reason they are most intelligent. Although they might not have the intellectual ability, so to say, to process knowledge, right? So in this way, I was clearly taking the association of devotees for granted, and my mentor could see it, and he tried to correct that tendency in me, right? And we need to always remember that the root cause of our bhakti is Krishna, right? In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22.83, this nice verse comes: Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Haya Sadhu Sangha Krishna Prema Janme Teho Punah Mukhya Anga. The root cause of devotional service to Lord Krishna is association with advanced devotees. Even when one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, association with devotees is still most essential. So, very nice verse talks about the importance of devotee association and how that is the root of our Krishna consciousness. And there are so many other stories within the Shastras. Indra offending Brihaspati and then losing all his opulence, the demigods losing all their opulence and things like that. So many examples. The fact that these great souls are among us doesn't mean they are like us. And the fact that they come down to our level to pick us up is actually their causeless mercy. It doesn't degrade them. So we need to remember that. And so many amazing people have recognized the greatness of Prabhupada when he was here in the US. Most people did not, back in those days when he used to live on the Bowery. And most people, the hippies, they didn't just recognize Prabhupada, but very few devotees like Mukunda Maharaj, Satswarup Maharaj, Hayagriva Prabhu. Hayagriva Prabhu just met Prabhupada on the streets, right? And he thought this is a very nice sadhu. And then they happened to talk, and Prabhupada invited him to the Gita classes there at 22nd Avenue. And that's how, these initial devotees who recognize the greatness of Prabhupada, they are actually supremely blessed. That's what the purport says. Those people who are able to recognize the presence of the Lord and his associates among them, they are supremely blessed, right? And if we contrast that with many Indians that Prabhupada met, they did not care. They thought that this Prabhupada is just A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami is just another sadhu, asking for help in serving his guru, right? Every sadhu does that. What's such a great thing in him, right? So most of them refused to help Prabhupada, right? Because that familiarity was there. They had developed that familiarity, to Krishna and to the sadhus you know. So when you go to distribute books in India, many people say, oh, Bhagavad Gita, we know Bhagavad Gita. We already know Bhagavad Gita. What is there more to learn in that, right? So like that, there is a familiarity, which is not ideal. The second familiarity that creeps in is familiarity with the Lord and his holy names. So it is said in the Bhagavatam that when Bhishma Dev was lying on the bed of arrows in his final days after the battle of Kurukshetra, the Pandavas and Krishna, they came to meet him. And there he says a very nice verse to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So he says, Eshavai Bhagavan Sakshad Adyo Narayana Puman Mohayan Mayaya Lokam Gudhas Charati Vrishnishu. This Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable original personality of Godhead. He's the first Narayan, the supreme enjoyer, but he's moving amongst the descendants of King Vrishni, just like one of us. And he's bewildering us with his self created energy. So, here Bhishma Dev is reminding Yudhishthir Maharaj that this person that you see here standing next to you is not an ordinary person, man. He is the supreme personality of Godhead, the first Narayan, right? And he's but because of his causeless mercy, he's just moving amongst us like one of us. Similarly, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says that when we chant the holy names every day, we often end up developing familiarity with the holy name. Right? We take the holy name, and I'm saying this because I have taken holy names for granted. And but Prabhuji says that we should remember this verse: Eshavai Bhagavan Sakshad. Holy name is Krishna himself manifesting, through sound. Abhinatvam Nama Namino, right? Nama Namino, the possessor, the one whose name it is, and the name itself, they are non-different. Bhagavatam says, right? So we chant the holy names. It is like that. I had heard a class many years ago that when we chant the holy name, and I think this comes in the scriptures as well. When we chant the holy names, Radha and Krishna are actually dancing on our tongue, right? Very very esoteric thing to think about actually, but that is the truth, because Krishna and his name are non-different, right? So whenever we chant the holy names, we can do it with this consciousness that Krishna is himself, Krishna is here present with me right now and manifesting himself through his holy name and bestowing his causeless grace upon me. There is a very nice quote by Mahatma Prabhu which says, chanting is not just a process, it is a relationship. We and the holy names are together, I and the holy names are together for 2 hours every day. And if we are aware of this fact, that just the fact that this is not just a mundane process but a relationship, and that we are with Krishna for 2 hours every day, then our chanting will drastically improve, he says. Right? So similarly, when we see the deities, we can think that, Eshavai Bhagwan Sakshat, these deities are actually non-different than Krishna himself. Radha Murlidhar, Gaurachandra, Varaha Narsimhadev, they are the absolute truth. They are God mercifully manifesting in front of us to especially bless us all. Right? So by such gratitude and appreciation, our bhakti can become very blissful. Each day, each time we practice bhakti. So today is the appearance day of Ramanujacharya, a great acharya in the Sri Sampradaya, the preceptorial line starting from goddess Lakshmi. So we can pray to him that we can be more aware, more conscious of these gifts that we've received. And actually, Mahaprabhu took two elements from Sri Sampradaya. The two elements that Mahaprabhu took were Ananya Bhakti, or unalloyed devotion, to Krishna. And then the second thing he took from Sri Sampradaya is Bhakta Jana Seva, service to the devotees. Right. So that way we can understand that the association of devotees, the presence of the deities, the holy name is a great fortune. Right. I'll end with a statement that Radhanath Maharaj made in one of his classes in the past. This is a paraphrase of what he said. If we are always conscious of the sacredness of the gifts of Krishna consciousness that we have received, then we will not allow familiarity to blind our vision. I'll repeat this. If we are always conscious of the sacredness of the gifts of Krishna consciousness that we have received, then we will not allow familiarity to blind our vision. A very nice quote. Anyway, to summarize, 47, quickly summarize. So we first discussed the mess that this greed for the Samantaka jewel created. and the whole conspiracy that it created. And then we saw how material pleasures fall short when it comes to giving us true happiness. And then we saw two people who got killed for the jewel, Satrajit, Prasen. And we saw two people who, although they had access to the jewel, easy access to the jewel, they were not bothered about it. That is Satyabhama and Jambavan. And then we saw the story of Sanatan Goswami, where it is Sanatan Goswami proves that the most valuable thing is the holy name in this world. And then we saw the theme of familiarity breeds contempt. Right? We saw two themes there: familiarity with devotees. We might develop a familiarity with devotees, and due to having easy access to devotees, right? And then we might develop a familiarity with the holy names and the deities, right? Because we see them every day, we associate with them every day. So, right. So, and then we saw the consciousness of always being conscious of the sacred gift of Krishna consciousness that we have received. So thank you very much, dear devotees. If there are any questions, comments, feedback, please let me know. Happy to serve you whatever way I can. Hare Krishna. Damodar Priya Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jagannath, Gopal, Das Prabhu. Thank you so much for class. So many takeaways. I especially appreciate that last quote from Radhanath Swami Maharaj, because I had written in the chat, that we need to be more present to the presence from Krishna in our everyday lives. And it's that very similar kind of idea. We actually had a question in the chat from Neha Prabhu. She wrote, Akrura is also a pure devotee, but he shows this type of behavior. Why and how? And I had a question too, but mine is not as relevant as hers. So if you could answer hers first, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, yeah. Actually, Prabhupada writes about this in Krishna book. This is chapters, yeah. So he addresses this very point of, wait a minute, where is the search bar? Okay. Akrura, devotee, Jambavan. No, there is one place where Jambavan continued, okay. Akrura, Satrajit.
I think it's actually referenced in the purport for the verses that I'm doing on Sunday. So it might be in the verses of for this same chapter in 35 or 36 or 37. I think in the purport, they reference it if you want to check there.
Yes, let's do that. Yeah, but I think although Satyabhama's, no, this we can see, so okay. No, I don't recall where, but I remember reading it. It in Krishna book as well as in the purport somewhere I read it. So basically, it says that Akrura. Okay, anyway, I'll just. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
You found it. It's in the bottom of that purport of 37. Do you see it?
Oh, sorry.
It's what you're referring to.
37.
Yeah, do you see? It says in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada explains. That's what you were looking for.
Lord Krishna indicated by this statement that Satyabhama was already pregnant at that, and that her son would be the real claimant of the jewel and would certainly take the jewel from Akrura. No, I think the question is how, why does Akrura, although being a devotee, involve in this conspiracy, right? That is
sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So what I had read is Akrura had this little offense that he did to the gopis. So when he took Krishna back to Mathura from Vrindavan, that time the gopis, they were pleading Akrura not to take him and things like that, but he just ignored them and he went away. Plus he created this whole separation between Krishna and the Vrajvasis. So he had that slight offense. That is what is talked about Akrura. And then Kritavarma was also a devotee, but Kritavarma also engaged in this conspiracy. And then it is said that because Kritavarma had very closely associated with Kamsa previously before his death, so he had, some of that had sort of rubbed off on him. So this is the reason that Prabhupada gives, right? And yeah, but so in that sense, we can understand that Akrura, although being a pure devotee, he shows, he is kind of involved in this conspiracy. So again, he's not involved in the conspiracy for a selfish reasons. That also we need to understand, because when he gets the jewel, he doesn't use it for his own personal sense gratification. He goes to Banaras and he gives charity. He keeps giving charity, a lot of charity. And also, he is not happy with Satrajit, because it says that Akrura and Kritavarma incited Shatadhanva to kill Satrajit. So the reason Akrura was unhappy with Satrajit is not because he wanted the jewel for himself, but because Satrajit had, although Krishna was telling him that, this is not good for you, still Satrajit was attached to the jewel, and he created these false allegations against Krishna. So in that sense, his mood is not for about selfish enjoyment, but his mood is selfless for Krishna. And also when he gets the jewel, for he gives out charity for that. So I hope that answers, Neha Mataji. And then the other question is Jambavan a bear or bear-like man? Is his daughter a bear or human? Yeah, I don't know the technicalities of that, but there are many species above the human species. So, I mean, there are 8.4 million species, it is said, right? Now, within them, humans, there are 400,000 species of humans themselves. Right? We are just one species among them. There are so many other human species, and some of the human species, may be different in the sense that, like Hanuman is also called a monkey, right? But he belongs to a, a species called Kim Purusha. They are actually celestial beings, and they are not like ordinary monkeys. So yeah, there are all these species that are there, human species, the 400,000 human species, which includes all, the demigod species, even there are humans in the hellish planets, right? Hellish planets below Earth, right? So there are all these species that are there, human species. So maybe Jambavan is, one of them, slight modification from what we are. So, yeah.
Thank you. Like I said, I was just curious because if it helps me to visualize the stories as I'm seeing them, and especially if one day I'm going to tell them to the kids. Like I don't
Yes.
know how I would portray it as a puppet, but because I know Hanuman is seen as he's kind of like more of like a monkey man, not like a monkey. So
Yes.
thank you. That's really interesting. There's just so much to unpack in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Like every day you think like you said, familiarity, right? Like you think you know it and then you don't. There's just so much more there to learn. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada, what will you do after you have written all the books? Because Prabhupada wrote Gita, Prabhupada wrote Bhagavatam, Prabhupada wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada wrote Nectar of Devotion. So then they asked him, Prabhupada, what will you do after everything? And they said, we'll write Bhagavad Gita again. You know, because these shastras are like a jewel, a money, a touch, a pearl actually. From whatever angle you look at it, it is attractive. So, and many of us have experienced this, that when we read the same verse in the Gita or the Bhagavatam repeatedly, we get different reflections altogether. So that is the greatness of the Shastra. It's like a Vaidurya Mani, it's like a pearl, it's like a jewel. You see it from any angle, it will give out certain attractive, vibes. So, yes, Narottam Nitai Prabhu has his hands raised.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about Hanumanji. I've heard. I mean, I know in Hindi or Sanskrit they say Vanara. They use the word Vanara,
Yes,
but
yes.
one of my friends has told me he's actually an ancestor of Bigfoot or something in that sense. It's not exactly
Mhm.
you know like a monkey, but in a sense like a very large, like 13, 14 foot man. But it's like a slightly different variation. So I
Got
just wanted to share that. So
got it, Prabhu. Yeah. Yeah. The term Vanara is very interesting. Vanara is a question actually. Vanara is a question. It means, are you human? So yeah, so it's like this Vanar kingdom is in between the Ayodhya. Ayodhya is where, you know, great devotees live, great souls live. And then in the southern side is Lanka, where demons live, like Ravana and everything. And this Vanara, their kingdom is in between, right? So it is symbolic also, in the sense that Vanara, are you human? So you have that choice whether to glide down into demoniac consciousness, or to go up in the Ayodhya consciousness. So the Vanaras have that choice. So in that sense, we all are Vanaras. We all are, we have to ask us, are we human? Do we want to go to the Ravana mentality, or do we want to go to the Hanuman, the Lakshman mentality, or Bharat Maharaj mentality, on the upper side? Yeah. Yes, and I think somebody had raised their hand. I don't know, but yeah. Yes, Adi Purush Prabhu.
Krishna, this is only a moment, but one of the comments that Srila Prabhupada made, and he's explained this many times, that in this world there are commodities that if they're a limited material commodity, then there's contention, and people will compete and be envious of each other, and there'll be one gets it, then the other one doesn't. But he said, but devotional service is a commodity that there's plenty of it. There's no shortage of service to Krishna. So there's no need for us to quarrel, fight, compete with the mundane anartha for devotional service, because Krishna is so wonderful that he's providing something that is available unlimitedly for everyone. Right?
Very true, Prabhu. Beautiful. Yeah.
Right.
Hare Krishna. How come Adipurusha Prabhu in Kali Yuga knows that, and Krishna's associates like Satyajit didn't know that there's unlimited service, there's nothing to hide, nothing to compete over? How come they didn't know that? How come they were so vengeful, so I don't know, greedy? What's the big deal? It's a jewel.
Valid
Don't they
question.
know that? Yeah.
Sometimes scripture shows us what to do, Prabhupada told us, and sometimes scripture told us what not to do.
That's right.
We don't have to make all the mistakes ourselves.
Somebody has to do that service to tell us what not to do. Is that what you would? How would you answer that question, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu?
So it's like the grace of the Lord is there, available to us always, but it's okay. Maybe can we continue the discussion after the
After
darshan?
glow, yeah. After glow, yeah.
No, don't worry. Just I don't know how to do that. But just point it that way. Just point this that way. It'll be fine.
The button should be on the top left corner. If you click on the screen, top left corner.
I gave you an answer, but you don't accept it. What can I say?
Turn the camera, Das Prabhu. Turn it around the other way.
There you go.
Okay. Shot. Jai Shri Shivada Mulidhar, Shigo Chandra Ki Jai. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I think I would have done better. If I were in Krishna Lila, I would have done better than that. I wouldn't get myself into a controversy over a stone. If I had Krishna in my life, why would I need a stone? So how do we answer that, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu?
So it's like there is a free will involved, which is a big factor, I feel, in this whole of a soul taking up to Krishna consciousness. Like, for example, just in the previous one of the previous chapters, we read how after Krishna kidnaps Rukmini and takes her away, Jarasandha is trying to pacify Shishupal, right? And Jarasandha is speaking great philosophy there. Right? Oh, this is just not your time. He's talking about time. He's talking about karma. You deserve it, and this thing and that thing. He's giving very high philosophy actually. And if you read the seventh canto, where Hiranyakashipu is trying to pacify his relatives after Hiranyaksha has died, he's also speaking great philosophy. Like if you read those verses in isolation, you will feel that an enlightened person is speaking here, right? So it's really interesting. But then what was their intention, right? What was that base foundation that was not of humility in these people? So although they had everything, they had, like Duryodhan also, and forget about Krishna's presence, Duryodhan showed him his universal form. He showed Duryodhan his universal form and told him to surrender, but Duryodhan thought that, oh, this is some mystic person, just making a show of his powers here. And he in that sense, continued with his animosity towards Krishna. So like that, it depends. The grace is available for everyone. Whether Krishna is present on the planet or not, the grace is available in the form of holy names and everything. But ultimately, it comes to what our intention is, or whether we are really honest and humble with ourselves, and whether we try to really take to that, or whether we want to do our own thing, or whether we want to do both, right? Most of us are in the boat of doing both. Certain things we want, that we want to do, but at the same time we know that yes, this is not the all in all. At some point we'll get there, like that. So yeah, I don't know. I hope that answers the question, bro.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, we may be very perfect on the outside, but if there's no surrender and humility and devotion for Krishna, then it's all worthless. And
Yes.
we make mistakes here and there, but if our intention is to please Krishna, then we should be okay.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank
definitely.
you for explaining that. Bhima Prabhu, he looks like the king of bears. He looks like Jambavan. Who asked about Jambavan?
That was Damodar Priya Mataji.
Damodar Priya. Yeah, Bhima Prabhu is going to turn on his camera, so that's what Jambavan looked like. Bhima Prabhu, you're there. Yeah, see? Are you a human? I'm sorry, Bhima Prabhu. It's just out of love. I love you. I'm sorry. See, familiarity will get me to hell, I tell you. My wife chastises me for that, for being too familiar. Bhima Prabhu, your hand is up. You want to speak? Okay.
Growl,
What's that?
growl. That's
Oh,
all I
you're
have to
eating.
say. I'm growling. I'm looking
Okay,
for
you're
my
growling.
berries.
Okay. So, all right. Jai Jagannath Gopal, wonderful class. Thank you. We love you. It was bona fide. It was very relatable. Thank you so much. It was nice seeing everyone on this call. Come again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Give it to Krishna. And yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam is not going anywhere. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.